Hi, I'm Neil Hermes and welcome to my weekly bird wrap where I bring you stories about birds from all over the world. This week I'll be talking about Koels, a very old hooded robin, a trip to Norfolk Island to see the birds on Norfolk Island, and some nesting Tawny Frogmouths. Hi, I'm Neil Hermes and welcome to my weekly bird report where I bring you stories about birds from all over the world. This week's pretty exciting for me because we're out of COVID and I'm out filming a pair of Tawny Frogmouths that are nesting in the trees behind me, but I'll bring you that story a little later on. First story I'd like to share with you today is about Koels. They're a type of cuckoo, K-O-E-L, Koels. In the past, we regarded Koels as being a species that occurred, the eastern Koel, or the Asiatic Koel, occurred across a region from India right through southern China, through Indonesian islands, New Guinea, and right down through Australia. The male is a big black cuckoo with a red eye. The female has a number of different colour plumages, but principally has a dark head and is a sort of mottled colour all over. These are cuckoos that lay their eggs in other birds' nests. In recent years, we now regard them as being separate species, the ones in India, the ones in Southeast Asia, and the ones in Australia. So we use the name Eastern Koel for the birds that occur in Australia. This particular group of Koels spends its winter months in New Guinea and Indonesia, and then during the summer comes down into Australia and parasitizes the birds that it finds, such as peewees, wattlebirds, and other birds with large cupped nests. Koels are a bird that, interestingly, over the last couple of decades have massively increased their range. Up until the 1970s in Australia, we didn't have Koels south of Sydney. Now they're a well-established bird in southern New South Wales and all through Victoria. So they're a bird that's been very successful and has spread in the last couple of decades. Many people don't like this because Koels have a very mournful, loud call that they use to attract their mates, and they call all through the day and all through the night. So in parts of southern Australia at the moment, people are not enjoying the fact that the Koels have arrived back for their summer breeding season. But we have eastern Koels back right across southern Australia, and they'll be breeding in other parts of the similar species will be nesting in other parts of their range. The second story I'd like to bring you today is about a hooded robin. Now, hooded robins are a beautiful Australian bird. They occur in all the mainland states of Australia, and the male is a brilliant black and white bird. They only weigh around about 20 grams, so that's a bird that would sit comfortably in my hand. And over the years, scientists have marked these birds with tags. They've used bands like these ones in my hand. These are a very large band. This is a size 8 band, far too big for a hooded robin. A hooded robin would take a much smaller band, but this is the sort of band that would be used. And in another story on another occasion, I'll tell you a bit more about bird banding, or bird ringing as it's called in other parts of the world. But this particular hooded robin, only in the last couple of weeks, it's been re-seen after 17 years since the band was first put on its leg. 17 years. This is a bird that's that big, weighs 20 grams. How these birds can survive in the wild for that long is just an amazing feat. Of course, most birds don't live that long. In fact, there's a very high mortality in young birds. But if they can make it through to adulthood, some of these birds can live for a long time. And congratulations on the hooded robin, the male hooded robin in South Australia that's made it to at least 17 years that we know of, probably a little longer. My next story today is about one of my favourite bird watching places, and it's Norfolk Island. I lived on Norfolk Island for 3 years and had a wonderful time working with the birds there and studying the birds on the island, and I wrote a little book about the birds while I was there. The birds on Norfolk Island are amazing. There's parrots, owls, silver eyes, all unique to the island. Norfolk Island's an interesting place. It's about 1,700 kilometres offshore from Australia. It's north of New Zealand, south of New Caledonia. It's a tiny island, 5 kilometres by 8 kilometres, about 30 kilometres all round. So it's a very small patch in the middle of the Pacific, but the birds there are fascinating. Not only the land birds in the tropical forest that occurs on the top of the mountain in the middle of the island called Mount Pitt and Mount Bates, but also the seabirds that occur on the offshore islands. Fabulous place. And I'll be leading a trip there in September next year, 2022. And you can find on the site a link to on my site, you can find a link for that trip, which is being organised by the Norfolk Island Travel Centre on Norfolk Island. So check it out, have a look at the trip. I'm taking a number of people with me, and my brother's accompanying me on that trip. He's an expert on heritage and archaeology matters, and we're going to have a great time next year. I think these trips will be all booked out very quickly next year, because people are keen to get out and about now that COVID's over. So my last story today is about the Tawny Frogmouths that I'm here filming in the trees behind me. I've been here for the last week or so since COVID has been lifted, restrictions have been lifted, and I've had a wonderful time filming these birds on their nest. Frogmouths are an amazing bird. They're a night bird, but they're not an owl. So they fly about at night catching insects. They've got these huge broad mouths, which is where they get the name frogmouth from, with bristles around their mouth that detect the insects in the air. During the day, they just sit motionless in the tree and try and remain undetected. But when they're nesting, it's remarkable how they sit on this tiny little patch on a branch and keep their eggs and their chicks safe. They build almost no nest at all, and it's this particular, as you can see from the films that are attached to this story, the branch has got a slight fork, and they've been able to put the eggs, 2 or 3 eggs, on a little spot, incubate them for a couple of weeks. Remarkably, eggs need to be turned during incubation, and these birds will turn those eggs 3 or 4 times in a 24-hour period. So right through the incubation, they're carefully managing these eggs on that spot. This particular pair has now got 2 chicks, and only yesterday I was here checking them out and they were on the nest, and this morning I come and the parent bird has taken the youngsters to another site. So they've now fledged from the site, and they'll be off on their own in a couple of weeks' time. So fabulous story about the Tawny Frogmouths here nesting in this little patch of forest near my home, and it's been a wonderful opportunity to come out here and film them, and I hope you enjoy the footage of those birds attached to this film. So thanks very much for watching, and enjoy your birding.